Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3742 AN. Today's date is September 30th, 2025, and the title of the episode is The Globalist System is Ripping Itself Apart. The U.S. has all the leverage. What I find very interesting, that 1 in 4 low-income households spend 15% or more of their income on energy bills. This leaves many families having to decide between putting food on the table or paying their power bills. Since 2022, retail electricity costs have increased faster than the rate of inflation. This is why I use this magical little device and would never go a month without it. It is state-of-the-art energy-saving tool that minimizes dirty electricity and environmental impact. This gadget can be effortlessly connected to any regular electrical socket and employs advanced technology to oversee and fine-tune energy usage in your household. By scrutinizing and modifying the electric current, it can notably diminish the quantity of energy consumed by your home appliances and gadgets without impairing their effectiveness or operation, and help support lowering your energy bills. Do your wallet a favor and grab one while it's on sale now for up to 60% off, only at don'twastepower.com before your next pricey power bill comes in. Plus, if you order now, you'll also get a 60-day 100% money-back guarantee and several other bonuses. Once again, that deal is only at don'twastepower.com or click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, they are now witnessing the destruction of the globalist system. And since Trump has been putting everything in place and putting the tariffs in place, we could see that he's evening the playing field. Now, the globalist system does not work well when you even the playing field because it's very, very lopsided, and they like to take the currency from this country and pass it along to other countries to push their socialist programs. And you could see, since Trump now is evening the playing field, countries are going to have a very difficult time. Now, you have to remember, the deep state, the central bankers, they were going to crash the economic system no matter what. Remember, that was their plan from the very, very beginning. And Trump, before they were able to crash the system, he decided, you know something, let's create a parallel economic system. Let's use tariffs like Andrew Jackson, McKinley, and the rest before we had the central bank system. Let's use that to bring in income externally. And we will bring the energy costs down by drilling in this country. We'll get rid of the Green New Scam, and we will sell the gold card and technology and energy across the globe. And we will compete with the Federal Reserve while we're destroying the globalist system, because this is what they wanted anyhow. But again, if we didn't have a parallel economic system and we didn't have what Trump was doing, we would be in a very bad place. Now, Europe, they are not prepared for all of this. They are now shifting into the system that the central bankers want. Now, are they going to succeed? Most likely not. Yes, if America fell and they had complete and utter control over America, yes, everyone would follow suit. But since they don't, what's going to happen, just like the COVID vaccine card, that completely and utterly fell apart. So what do you think is going to happen with the digital ID, with the central bank digital currency, with their entire Great Reset Green New Scam that they're pushing? It's going to fall apart, because this is why Trump set up the parallel system, to counter everything the deep state is doing. Remember, he has all the leverage. The people here in this country, the U.S. has the leverage. They've been taking from us. We've been taking in their products, a lot of the products we don't even need. And you could see that countries now are having a very, very difficult time. If you look at Germany, if you look at France, you look at the UK, they're having major problems. Now, Trump, he's making deals with other countries, and he is setting everything up to benefit the U.S. If these countries want to help themselves, they can. But most of these countries, they're being directed by installed politicians. And when you look at France, they're in a debt spiral, and you could see that their entire economic system is completely and utterly falling apart. And they're continually borrowing and borrowing money. And you have to remember, the central bank system, it's a system of debt. It's not a system of prosperity. It's a system of debt. And when you look at France, they're borrowing a lot of money. And the strategy is leaving deep holes in the public accounts and barely hides the fractures of fragmented society, where class conflict grows more aggressive and Islamist subcultures flourish, with new borrowing at 5.6% of GDP this year and total debt of 114%. France faces the classic Ponzi dilemma. Once old debt can no longer be rolled into new issuance, the entire system collapses. And markets are already signaling trouble. French 10-year yields, negative as recently as 2020, now hover around 3.5%, the highest in a decade. Spreads against German bunds have blown out to 75 to 80 basis points from under 30 just a few years ago. Investors see mounting risk in French paper. And it's going to get worse and worse as time goes on, because you have to remember, the deep state, the central bankers, they're not here to improve their economic system because they can't. It's a central bank system. It's a debt system. And the only way out of it is to collapse the old system and bring in the new system. And the only way to cover that entire thing up is to bring the entire world to war. Trump now is building a brand new system. Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, why don't the other countries just do this? Why don't they just build a new system? Because the central bank system in those countries, the installed politicians, they're still controlled. So the central bank doesn't want a tariff system in all these countries. They don't want a separate system that brings in external revenue. They want a system where you have to borrow the currency and you have to pay the currency back with interest attached. This is how they control the people. So it's very, very different here in this country, because without Trump, we would be heading down the same path as all these other countries, which means we have the leverage over the central bank system, and the world is now watching. The people of these countries, they're watching the U.S., they're watching the U.S. economy. I'm not talking about the politicians that are installed in these countries. I'm talking about the actual people, because they are going to make. What I find very interesting, that 1 in 4 low-income households spend 15% or more of their income on energy bills. This leaves many families having to decide between putting food on the table or paying their power bills. Since 2022, retail electricity costs have increased faster than the rate of inflation. This is why I use this magical little device and would never go a month without it. It is state-of-the-art energy-saving tool that minimizes dirty electricity and environmental impact. This gadget can be effortlessly connected to any regular electrical socket and employs advanced technology to oversee and fine-tune energy usage in your household. By scrutinizing and modifying the electric current, it can notably diminish the quantity of energy consumed by your home appliances and gadgets without impairing their effectiveness or operation, and help support lowering your energy bills. Do your wallet a favor and grab one while it's on sale now for up to 60% off, only at don'twastepower.com before your next pricey power bill comes in. Plus, if you order now, you'll also get a 60-day 100% money-back guarantee and several other bonuses. Once again, that deal is only at don'twastepower.com or click the link in the description. The change when the time comes. And as their system breaks down, they're going to say, wait, what's going on at the U.S.? Is it breaking down? Are they having the same exact problems? How come their system is flourishing right now? Whatever Trump did, it is working. Just like when people look at El Salvador, they look at Argentina, and they look at those leaders there, where they completely reversed everything the central bank was trying to do. And people of other countries, they say, wow, they're improving every single day. And it's getting better and better and better. And when you look at Argentina, when you look at El Salvador, when you look at all these different countries, you could see it very, very clearly. Here in the United States, you're going to start to see this, and it's going to become clearer and clearer every single day. Because think about everything that Trump is doing right now. He's setting it up to make sure that when the central bankers decide to collapse their currency. Remember, it is their currency. This is not the people's currency. We don't create this currency. It's a Federal Reserve note. We borrow it. And for the pleasure of borrowing this, they charge us interest. It's like if you went to a bank and say, listen, I need a loan for a car, or I need a loan for a house, or I need a loan for anything. Yeah, we'll give you some money, but here's the interest rate. You're going to have to pay us back with this interest. It's the same thing with the Federal Reserve. They're loaning the entire country and the world money. And for you to use this money that they're loaning you, you're going to have to pay it all back. That's why they have the Internal Revenue Service. And once again, this is what Trump is moving us away from. And the only way to do this is by evening the playing field in regards to trade, propping up the Federal Reserve note. It might sound a little ridiculous, but again, we don't want the Federal Reserve note collapsing while we're transitioning into a new system. This is why he wanted the Genius Act. This is why we have the stable coin. This is why we're having the crypto reserves, to protect the Federal Reserve note, because we don't want that crashing as we move forward. And we could see that he's also bringing back manufacturing because this is very, very important. People need jobs. We need to produce products to send to other countries. And you could see that Trump, he is doing the opposite of what the central bankers have done over a long period of time. And you could see that he is slowly but surely, I don't think it's that slow, it's moving pretty fast. He's bringing the manufacturers back to this country because as he placed tariffs on all these different countries, the manufacturers of furniture, of clothing, and many other things, pharmaceuticals, they're looking at this saying, okay, this is not going to benefit us. This is the business decision to stay in these countries is not going to work. So we're going to have to make a decision. Now, I do believe he's with the tariffs. He's going to pressure them to move back to the United States. And I do believe he's going to reduce regulation, reduce taxes, and show these manufacturers, look, energy is becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper here in this country. And we also have skilled labor that is ready to go. And remember, when people say, well, it's going to take a long time for the manufacturers to come back, yes, it might take a couple of months, might take a year. But again, you have to remember, they have to build the plants. And that creates construction jobs. It gives jobs to plumbers, electricians, those people that do woodwork, those people that do bathroom design or office design, those people that create the roads, do the landscaping, and all the materials that go along with this. So this also creates a lot of jobs. And I do believe in the next year or so, we're going to see a lot of jobs being created, a lot of people going back to work. And as energy prices come down and Trump returns the buying power to the people, the wages that are being paid, they're going to feel pretty darn good because they're going to give you enhanced buying power and you're going to be able to purchase items in this country compared to what is happening now. You have to remember, the deep state players, the central bankers, they've been bringing in illegals because wages are very, very low. As the central bank system breaks down and the value of the currency loses value, people don't want to work for a minimum wage, and companies want to pay less and less and less because they're losing money with inflation. And this is why a lot of the manufacturers and companies have moved out of this country. But there's a lot of companies that can't move out of here. And that's why they have to bring in third world labor. But Trump is about to change all this. As he deports all these illegals, these jobs are going to be open. If they're open, who's going to fulfill them? It's going to be American workers. Now, of course, people are going to say, well, wait a minute. How are the American worker going to fill them if they didn't fill them before? Because wages were way too low and the companies don't want to pay. Well, if you start removing income tax and you make energy very, very low, it allows the company to increase their profits because energy costs are very low. And once again, if you remove a lot of the regulations and the taxes that go along with it, companies then can keep those funds. If you lower the interest rate, that also assists the companies. And when you look at the employee, when Trump starts to remove the income tax, what happens? Well, they have additional buying power, which means the companies do not have to pay a lot more because the income tax is removed, and that gives them the additional buying power. Yes, they can up their wages a little bit, but again, with that, it gives them additional buying power. And as energy continually drops, it gives the employee buying power because of low energy costs. So when you start to look at all this and you start to put it all together, you could see how all of a sudden employees can all of a sudden go back to work and they can get the salary. Now, Trump now has kept the inflation steady, which means that also gives the employees additional buying power. And what happens when Trump starts to make the move, once he gets rid of income tax, once he starts to make the move where he goes back to sound money, all of a sudden, your buying power increases dramatically. And those people that are working, all of a sudden, they feel incredibly fantastic because now they have all this buying power. It's almost like when you go back to the central bank system in the very, very beginning of 1970, 71, when we came off the gold standard, we saw what? Inflation. It was like a drug. All of a sudden, houses doubled, income doubled. And everyone felt great because if they had a payment on their car, if they had their mortgage payment, they were making double right now. And they looked at their mortgage payment saying, wow, I was paying $300. I was making $5,000 a year. Now I'm making $10,000, $15,000 a year, and my mortgage payment is still the same. My car payment is still the same. So I feel pretty darn good. That is in the beginning of the central bank system. But just like any drug and any drug addict that's on a drug, that feeling goes away as time goes on because the magic disappears and it gets worse and worse and worse. And the opposite starts to happen. This time around, Trump is going to do the opposite, removing the income tax, bringing us back to sound money, because you have to remember, the central bank system is now on the downside of their system where there's a huge amount of inflation because inflation is cumulative. The value of the currency, it is completely degraded. It has lost something like 98% of its value. And the people now are struggling because they realize, wow, it takes a lot of these pieces of paper to buy the same exact item that I was paying just a week ago or 2 weeks ago or a year ago. But as Trump removes the income tax and we go back to sound money, the opposite is going to happen. And people are going to feel really good, just like they felt really good when they went onto the central bank fiat system in the very, very beginning. The difference is that the system that Trump is creating doesn't break down over time. Because again, the deep state players, the corrupt people, they just can't borrow and borrow and borrow. Because if we're getting income externally, they just can't say, I want $1 trillion. Well, let me look in the coffers. What do we got? We don't have $1 trillion. So you know what? You're not getting it. And you won't be able to launder this throughout the world and give kickbacks to your buddies and everything else to create more corruption. So all that is pretty much coming to an end. And when you look at Trump, you can see what the central bankers have done over time. They have basically stripped this country of the manufacturers, which means those towns like in North Carolina, in Detroit, and many other places, you can see the towns, they have been decimated. Rapid Response 47 put this out and said, blood, sweat, and tears went into the furniture that we made. I was so happy to get a job here. The best furniture you could buy. Then they moved out. It left this town high and dry. POTUS is taking a stand to restore North Carolina's furniture industry to greatness. And basically, as Rasmussen report says, the central bankers, the deep state players, they were looting the country, almost like Antifa is looting the country with the illegals and the criminals. The deep state players, the central bankers, they're pretty much the same thing. They loot this country and they send everything to other places. And you could see that everything that Trump is doing right now, it's bringing manufacturers back to this country. Rapid Response 47 once again says, for years, Volvo's XC60 model has been shipped to the U.S. from Sweden, but the new 15% levy on foreign imports makes it worthwhile to move its manufacturing to the U.S. Trump War Room says Trump was right about everything, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And you can see that all this investment that is flooding back to the United States, we're going to see so many jobs being created, it's going to make people's heads spin. And think about it. If you give the people of this nation jobs, and they're working and it's a good salary, and then you remove income tax and you go up to fill up your car and it's very, very cheap because, again, oil, gas, when that goes down, electricity goes down. Even if you have an electric car, the price to charge your car is going to go down. Think about flying. Think about delivery. Think about manufacturing of products. Everything decreases in price because of this, and your buying power increases. He's doing the opposite of what the central bank, the deep state players have been doing. And this is just the beginning. And you have to remember, at this point in time, Trump has all the leverage. If you notice, the foreign nations, the globalists, the EU, Canada, they tried to fight back. They tried to say this isn't going to happen. But who won in the end? Trump, we the people. And will continue to win because we have all the leverage. Trump knew coming into this that the globalist system was one way, and all he had to do is shut it all down. And you can see as he shuts it down, he's ripping it apart, and the nations across the globe, they're going to have a very, very difficult time because you have to remember, everything was set up for the Great Reset. They never expected Trump to come in, place tariffs, make deals, drill for oil, remove the Green New Scam. This wasn't part of their plan. The EU nations, They weren't following along with what Trump was doing. So they're trapped in the globalist central bank system, and basically it's imploding on itself. Here, the old system, yes, is shuttering, but Trump's new system is building and building and building. And that is the difference. Trump is putting everything into place to make sure that when the central bank system comes down, the globalist system implodes on itself, the entire country doesn't go with it. This is why he's stabilizing the currency with a stable coin. This is why he's stabilizing everything and making sure that we have the ability to bring in currency from around the world. And this is what's going to save America. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.